Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're here to talk about something that I only recently got into, but I did own it back in the day, and that is HD DVDs. This is a format that I don't know if you guys remember, before Blu-ray was a thing, there was competition in the Blu-ray space. Blu-ray was obviously heavily supported by Sony, but Toshiba and Microsoft partnered to do HD DVDs, and that was the battle of, the war back then on who would win out, HD DVDs and Blu-ray. And obviously at this point in time, we all know Blu-ray is the one that won out in that time frame back in the early 2000s. I think it was 2002 when HD DVDs first started rolling out. And I actually had an HD DVD player back in the day. I had the 360 model, but I got rid of it and sold it. I had a few movies, but not that many, and got rid of it and never really had it again. But recently, because of this plasma right here behind me, and how good it looks across all games and stuff, I really wanted to see what 1080p movies would look like. And I started to venture into collecting some HD DVDs, and I got an HD DVD player for the 360, and I'm going to be showing you guys my collection, but also some learnings that I had along the way, because HD DVDs were not made very great. Like HD DVDs that I have literally gotten today literally can be scratch free, and they just don't work. And there's reasons why we're going to get into and all of that in today's video. So let's go ahead and get into the video.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a brekkie is the gaming tech. Gaming techie is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
Alright guys, so here's my small collection of HD DVDs that I have in my collection right now. And again, I was actually wrong before. It was actually April 18, 2006 where HD DVDs officially launched in the United States. In 2002 is when they just announced the proposal to actually create that HD DVD format, but it took a few years before that. That was when it officially happened, where these Blu-ray players or HD DVDs came out at $499. So they had, that release back in 2006, which was interesting. And we had major film studios be divided on which ones would support either Blu-ray or HD DVDs. HD DVDs was heavily supported by Universal and Paramount and Warner Brothers back in the day. And then late in 2006, as we know, when Blu-ray officially got their first player, we had the PlayStation 3 get released along with the Blu-ray player that obviously the PlayStation 3 had built in, which really set the boom back in the day on, Blu-rays being more supported, because a lot of people now, millions of people had a PlayStation 3 in their hands, as opposed to the add-on that we have here for the 360. And as you can see here, this is the add-on for the 360 that you can buy. There's a little Blu-ray, player right here that you have, and I even have the original remote that still works that came out with this thing as well, a little media remote that works with it. And yes, my HD DVD player, of course, works with my 360 from back in the day, which was really interesting. And then the problem with HD DVDs that really lost its luster is January 2008, Warner Brothers announced that it would exclusively switch after those 2 years to only exclusively releasing their movies on Blu-ray. So obviously that was a gigantic hit to the HD DVD market when a big partner like HD DVD Warner Brothers was, that they officially stopped it. So right after that, in February 19th, like literally a month afterwards, Toshiba announced that it would stop making HD DVD players and recorders, which basically ended the format war in 2008. But I wanted to get into to see how good these actually hold up nowadays, because of my whole plasma TV that we have here that we've been talking a lot about with my Panasonic Viera VT50, and I was heavily surprised, and I will show you guys some examples here in a minute. But first, let's talk about my collection, because there is some things to get into. I started buying some of these Blu-ray or some of these HD DVDs here, and you can see that yes, there are some that were exclusively on there, and I think there's a couple even today that haven't seen a release at all. And one of them is Dukes of Hazzards right here. Never really got a full Blu-ray release. So this is like, if you care about physical media, this would be the way to own a game, to own this on physical media. And then there's some really cool examples of things doing things interesting, like Return of the House of the Hill here was an interesting one, because Return of the House of the Hill actually had the movie, and then it also had like your own adventure story style where you actually pick different things and the movie would change based on what you were doing. And that was something that HD DVD always touted, is those special features, and the fact that when you were playing a movie, you can open up the menu while the movie was playing and go through commentary and stuff. Something that even Blu-rays today still don't really do. You have to cycle that stuff in the menu, but you don't get a pop-up within the actual movie playing. And you can see I have a good variety of movies on here that I got, like Transformers, the first one, Heroes, one of my, such a good series that ended way too early. Season 1 was released on HD DVD, but then when seasons past that, they started releasing them on Blu-ray when the format war was lost. But there's a pretty good variety of stuff here. Old school, 40-year-old virgin, Fast and Furious, King Kong, Clerks 2, Harry Potter, you know, and stuff like that. Tomb Raider, 300, The Mummy. And obviously, this is just a small collection of stuff I collected over the last couple months. This one's also pretty cool as well. This is the South Park Good Times with Weapons limited edition HD DVD that didn't release anywhere else except on HD DVD with this cool episode. So that was pretty cool on physical media, that is. So I got those, and then something happened when I started getting these from eBay and started to try and play them on the HD DVD player. So what's interesting about HD DVDs is when I started getting these through eBay, I didn't know that HD DVDs had a major problem back in the day, especially the Warner Brothers disc. Warner Brothers seems to have suffered the most, but I did get some Universal discs that had the same issue too, where the disc would look brand new, no scratches on it, but it wouldn't play. And I started scouring the internet being like, why is this stuff not playing? I know my HD DVD player is fine. Some of the movies play and some of them don't. And it's because of disc rotting. Yes, after these things obviously have been around for 20 years, they weren't made that well and the discs are rotting, and you can't tell sometimes by just looking at it. Sometimes you can tell that the disc is rotted with the way that it has like almost like a cloud on top of the disc, which basically means the disc has been rotted, but sometimes it doesn't do that. Sometimes the disc looks perfectly fine and it's just rotted the data and it just won't play. It will come up saying it can't play. And I had some of those on eBay come like that because a lot of the people obviously are not testing these when they sell them on eBay. They're just selling them as is, and then you get them and they don't play. And again, Warner Brothers was the biggest culprit in that because it basically was not exclusive to a movie. So it's not like, you know, hey, don't buy, you know, Transformers 1 on HD DVD because they're just not going to work because they're all rotting here in 2026. That would be an easy resolution, but unfortunately that isn't the case. It's the discs that were made at specific plants that suffered from this. So there was a plant that was making these DVDs or HD DVDs for Warner Brothers and for, you know, Universal sometimes, that made these discs and, you know, suffered from this disc rotting issue depending on how they were manufactured. So you can have two Harry Potter discs in your hand from Warner Brothers and one can work and one cannot because of that rotting issue. But like I said, Universal's the worst one. Those are the ones you need to definitely be careful with. So when I started buying some of the Universal ones, I would just ask the people on eBay and be like, hey, was this tested? Because I don't want this disc to be rotted. Generally, it's the assumption that if they're still working today, 20 years later, if it's a Warner Brothers disc or some of the Universal ones, that there's a pretty good chance that they will continue to work because it probably didn't come from that plant and that was manufacturing those discs, and we should be fine. But yeah, I got a variety of discs that just didn't work because of that issue, and I had to return them on eBay and then start asking sellers and be like, hey, was this tested and blah, blah, blah. Most of the other discs, like obviously those two big companies were the major ones, Universal and Warner Brothers. Universal has that issue sometimes, but it seems like they didn't manufacture a lot of their discs at that plant. But when it comes to like DreamWorks, which also was a company that made HD DVDs, they don't seem to have that issue really at all. So they're a lot less worrisome when you buy those discs. But yeah, if you're buying Warner Brothers or Universal, you need to check with those eBay sellers first, like I did. But when you get them, you should be fine from here on out, which is what all these Blu-rays or HD DVDs here came from. So all of these have been tested, obviously, and they work now, even though some of them are from those two companies. But it was a hassle because I had to return like 4 or 5 of them, and I was like, eBay's going to think I'm screwing things around with how much returns I'm doing. And yeah, it was an unfortunate, hard lesson to learn that now you guys can know about here in 2026. Here at the main menu here, as you guys can see, we're going to take a look at Transformers here. And I'm going to turn off the lights just so you guys can see this a little bit better because obviously plasmas shine in you know, dark light with the black levels and everything. So here we go, playing a Transformers movie, and this just looks fantastic. And I hope it's coming across in the video how good this can actually look here.
For my family, who did that? People? Responsibility. Okay. So for my family genealogy report, I decided to do it on my great...
And like I said, you can pop up the menu right from here and look at extras and go home right when the movie's playing, which is a big thing that they touted about. Some of them having documentaries that can go over it that you could be listening to. You can go into extras, listen to commentary, for example.
1897. So my cameraman...
There you go. Now I'm listening to the commentary about this exact scene.
Everyone's eating, and I'm like, okay. And that pisses me off. So I think
it is really cool that you can do that right here throughout the menu and just kind of scroll through, listen to his commentary, and
because I got to tell you,
just do that with HD DVDs, which again was like a heavily thing that they touted back in the day.
What?
And I think we all remember one of the iconic scenes from Transformers here.
Okay, it's my only chance. You gotta be understanding here, all right?
Like these 1080p movies, even though it's 1080p resolution on this plasma,
You gotta get out of my car.
they hold up to today so bad that like I could have this on and somebody would come over to my house and I'd be like, hey, so this new Blu-ray I put on for 4K. Most of my family and friends would be like, yeah, no, this looks freaking great.
God, there was a lot of talk on the internet about
So it's freaking cool.
Michael Bay will wreck this movie. He won't know how to do this movie. He doesn't know anything about Transformers. You know, stuff like Michael Bay.
I think we all had a crush on Megan Fox back in the day in this first Transformers movie. It's so iconic, and I'm so glad to have an HD DVD. Here's another iconic scene here. This is from Fast and Furious, the original. Again, it just looks so good on this plasma. The colors pop, the black levels. It looks fantastic. And I'm looking through the camera, and sometimes the colors are being like a little blown out, but that is not what I'm experiencing on here. I see that some of the neon lights are being blown out on this camera, but I promise you it doesn't look like that in person.
What the hell's going on around here? Street's closed, pizza boy. Find another way home. Goddamn street racer.
So iconic. I'll never forget watching the original Fast and Furious, how much I love this movie. My God, and look at these two. How young they look. Rest in peace to my guy over here. Super freaking awesome. Great looking movie.
This is yours, whether you win or lose. But if you win, you'll hurt too.
Yeah, Fast and Furious was crazy back in the day.
You're gonna win.
So yeah, guys, if you're into physical media like this, I think HD DVDs is really cool to collect for because the movies still look fantastic when you run them on a proper TV. When you run them on a plasma TV that really shined, that was the best TV for back in the day, like something like the Panasonic Viera VT50 here, these things will still blow you away today with how good those black levels look. And you think only OLEDs were doing this? Nah, plasmas were doing this too back in the day. And it is really cool to see. It's just unfortunate that collecting these is such a pain in the ass because a lot of people who are selling these on eBay are not gonna have HD DVD players laying around to like test these movies before they ship them. So if you're buying things from like Universal and Warner Brothers, you're taking a risk that it may be rotted even if the seller tells you the disc looks perfectly clean. Obviously, the disc being perfectly clean is a good start. That's a good indicator that they're at least like higher percentage of it playing, but there's still going to be a risk that they're rotted even without having any scratches on it, which is just an unfortunate way that they didn't do any quality control on the plant that was making these specific DVDs. This would be a lot easier, like I said, if it was just one movie that it was happening to, but it wasn't. It was any movie. Some movies would, like the same movie could work and other discs wouldn't just because it depends on what planet it came from and stuff like I was talking about. So it sucks because it makes collecting these a little bit harder. I'd have a lot more in my collection already if not, but obviously I'm very picky and choosy because I have to go to these sellers and be like, hey, do you have these movies? Are they confirmed to work? Do you know that they work? My Connect over there is answering for God knows what reason. But yeah, and you know, you just have to, and sometimes what sucks even more, and I haven't technically worked throughout every single movie and watched every single movie in my collection, but the disc could start working like it could in these movies, and then it could be rotted in the middle of the movie. So the movie could play for the first half of it and then just not play the second half because the disc got rotted in the middle. Again, pain in the ass to collect for, but it is fun to collect for. These are obviously not expensive. The only one that was expensive was Dukes of Hazzard unrated because that never released physically anywhere else. So it was like a $50 disc. House of the Dead, House on the Hill was also expensive because of that exclusive stuff with like picking your own adventure and stuff. So those are the two movies I definitely wanted in my collection to work. and I got copies of that, which is awesome. I will probably still get a few more as time goes on. I still have Shrek coming in. That just hasn't come in throughout the time that this video was made, just because I wanted to see an animated movie on this TV. So hopefully that one does work. I did ask the seller, of course, if it worked, and he says it did. But yeah, I'll just have to be really picky and choosy and make sure that they function. But it is still really fun to collect too. It's a really good thing to have in a retro game room like this. Obviously, collecting something like HD DVDs that were a part of our time, something that I actually had in my childhood, even though I got rid of it eventually. Because it obviously wasn't a thing when Blu-ray won, but now it's awesome to have it back in the collection and seeing how good these really look, because I'd never seen the movies in HD DVDs look this good before on this plasma. So let me know what you guys are thinking about. Let me know if you guys have some of these in your collection. Let me know anything that you may have found out while collecting these, if you guys collect HD DVDs and stuff like that. And if you guys are getting rid of your collection and you see that you have stuff that I don't have, and reach out to me. We can work something out on there too. So thank you guys for watching. Till next time.